Welcome to the broadcast of Built to Win, the teaching ministry of Pastor Larnell and Cynthia Cheatham. Hello, I'm Sister Mary. Today, Pastor will be continuing from his series, Begin Again, Your Destiny Awaits. So listen, learn, and live how you are built to win.
I'm continuing from my ministry assignment, which is course corrections. I am in division number 28. I'm in part 9 of a teaching that's entitled Begin Again, Your Destiny Awaits. It is Begin Again, Your Destiny Awaits. Church, let me do as I customarily do for those who may be listening for the first time by way of CD, online, you may be here for the first time. Let me give you the purpose of this teaching. You know, we began this message several weeks ago. I said our purpose was to cause us to know. It was to cause us to experience, listen, God's grace and God's mercy. And this is the main part, and to embrace your new beginning. And then I gave you the intent of this message. I said, listen, if you do not embrace, listen to me now, if you do not build upon this new beginning, you will fall right back into the old cycle of repeats and re-enter the wilderness. God, I got to move on. Listen to me. I got to move on. Here's the goal of the message. Is to provide a clear, concise, organized system, listen now, that will allow us to do three things. Number one, to build our new life. Number two, to show us how to embrace the journey. And number three is to give us the keys to walk in and live in our destiny. And church, that's where we're heading today. So let's move kind of quickly for time's sake. Listen to me. Listen, the last time we were together, we discovered that, listen, that position with God is greater than power with the world. We discovered that. We said, listen, position with God is greater than power with the world. So I asked you a question. It was question number 2. And I thought it very appropriate to ask this question. Listen, if we had said that we had discovered that position with God is greater than power with the world, question number 2 was this. Are you in position with God? And I thought that was a fair question to ask you. Are you in position with God? And I told you, it's extremely important how you answer that question. Are you in position with God? And then I gave you some insight. I said, listen, always seek position. Always, always, always. Always seek position. I told you, listen, never seek power. I told you to always seek position. Why? Because power, listen, position can take you places where power can't. Position can open doors that power cannot. Listen to me. Then I said this to you right here. I said position is alignment. Did you get that? Position is alignment. It is a relationship with God to be fully submitted and committed to His will and to His way. That is, listen to me, that is position. It is an alignment. It is a relationship with God to be fully submitted and committed to His will and to His way. Listen, and that surrender will allow you to begin again. You want to begin again? That surrender will allow you to begin again and walk in your destiny. So again, I asked you, are you in position with God? Then I gave you a little test, church. We're not going through that part. It was a homework assignment. I pray that you did it. If you didn't, that's been you and the Lord. But let me move on quick for time's sake. Then that took us to our point number 1. It took us 8 weeks to get there, but we got there. We said, listen, our point number 1 was this. Under the title, Begin Again, Your Destiny Awaits, point number 1 was this. It was called The Journey. The Journey. That was your point number 1. The journey to walk in my destiny. That is your point number 1. And let's pick up from here, church, and roll right into the new information. Listen to me. I said, listen, that one word, journey. Whenever you hear that one word, journey, it should tell you something, that it's a process. It's a process, man. When you hear journey, see, because we get excited by saying, oh man, I'm going to begin again. God said, slow down. He said, it's a journey. It is a process. That means, listen, there's going to be some things that happen. It doesn't mean that's going to be overnight. He said, it's a process. It means you have to go through something. So this is what I said right here. I said, listen, it tells us that it's a process. And in that process, I must know something. And what I must know is that failure is not an option. And I thought it was important. He said, let me tell you something. You are on your way now. And he said, you must know that failure is not an option. He said, you will have to endure. That's another word you got to look at. He said, you will have to endure. That means you got to go through something. He said, listen, you will have to endure. He said, listen, you cannot just up and quit and faint in this process. He said, you can't do that one. Listen, he said, failure is not an option. He said, listen, even when the way, even when the leading, he said, may not be clear. He said, failure is not an option. He said, this is what he's saying, and I want to hit this part home today. He said, irregardless if the way, he's acknowledging some things to you right now. He said, irregardless if the way, he said, irregardless if the leading is not clear. He said, listen, man, you just can't quit. Failure is not an option. He said, listen, you are now on the journey, and you have to go through. He said, listen, so when I told you this right here, I said, listen, when I use that word failure, what I was saying is this. Any interruption that might occur, see, something might occur in this process that would cause me not to accomplish my destiny. He said, listen to me, it's not an option. He said, it's not an option. He said, listen. He said, listen. He said, listen. Even though an interruption might come in, a distraction might take place. I mean, what he's saying is this. Listen, if you're going to complete the assignment, failure is not an option. He said, there are no excuses. We are people of excuses. He said, there's no, see, you said, wait, I would have made it, man, if she had just been here. I would have done this if the money had come through. I would, no. He said, listen, no excuses. Don't allow it to occur. How can God tell you don't allow something like that to occur? Here's the answer. He said, because listen, I told you. I mean, God is something else. I mean, it was like, he wasn't being arrogant. He was just telling you who he is. He said, listen, I told you. I have pressed the reset button. And I have given you the victory. And we used Luke. We're not going back to Luke chapter 22, verse 32. We looked at the story of Peter. Because it's the same concept. See, Jesus is trying to tell you there are no excuses, man. There's no reason for failure. I mean, even though when I look sometimes and don't see, God said, you got to look past that. You got to look at what my word said. He said, listen, he told Peter, listen, I told you, I have prayed for you. Are you hearing me? He said, listen, I prayed for you. I told you this, that I have prayed for you. And he said, I know my prayers get answered. Check this out. He's not being arrogant, son. He's not being arrogant. He said, listen, he said, I told you. He's really talking to me. Let's be honest. He said, listen, I told you. I prayed for you. And listen what he said. He said, and my prayers get answered. He said, you know why? He said, because I answer them. Did you get that? Now that's still going to be arrogant. He said, no. He said, because I answer them. See, he said, I told you I prayed for you. Okay? He said, you know who I am? He said, listen, I told you I prayed for you. He said, listen, and my prayers get answered. Because I answered them. He said, I had that power to do that. Just like he told in the scriptures, listen, I have the power to lay down my life, and I have the power to take it back up. Do you understand that, church? He said, so I'm telling you, listen to me. He said, so I told you this. I want you to get this part of it. Listen. This is real good. He said, listen, I had the power to lay it down. He said, that your faith fail not when you're going through. Then he said this right here. This is so key. When you are converted. Do you understand what he was saying there? Because I had to research that out. He said, and when you are converted. This is what he's saying. This is so good. Listen to me. He said, when you are converted. What he's saying is, when you finally get caught up with what I told you. See, you're sitting in church. He's going, amen, shaking your head, this, that, and all that kind of stuff. That's great. But he said, you ain't there yet. He said, when you are converted, when you finally believe the stuff you've been saying. When you finally get to that point and you accept my word as my word. When the light finally comes on and you're no longer trying to fake it till you make it. Okay? Is that plain enough for you? He said, listen to me. He said, when you are converted, then he said, go strengthen my brother. Amen? Did you get that, church? Let me move on quick. He said, listen, in 1 Corinthians 15:57, he said, because thanks be to God, which gives us the victory through Christ Jesus. Then that took us to our letter A. Our letter A was this. It was first things first. Man, I mean, God is so good. He said, listen to me, you're on a journey. So let me help you out on this process. He said, first things first on the journey. And we found out, he said, first things first. He said, because listen, you never design the blueprints after you build the house, you do it before. And he said, the purpose of that is, listen, he said, listen, so you can know where and how to begin. And he said, listen, to keep you moving, motivated, and get you to a place where you are mature. We left off right here, church. Your number one in your letter A was this. He said, listen, I'm doing great on time. Number one was this. I must have some preparation. And you need to get this part down if you didn't get it last time, because this is going to take us right to new information. I must have some preparation. He said, I must know some prevention so that I can what? Live in position. Why did he say that, church? He said, so listen, so I can know how to avoid the traps. He said, I'm telling you, you need to have some preparation, some prevention, so you can live in position, so you can know how to avoid the traps. How to avoid the traps, how to avoid distractions, and this, most of all, you need to get this one, know how to avoid the sins of yesterday from occupying my life today. Some of us are getting beat up in here because you know what? The same stuff you were wrestling with 5 years ago, you're still wrestling with right now. The same make-believe stuff you've been doing 5 years ago. The same pride you had how many years ago. You still need to listen to him. He said, listen. He said, this is so good. He said, the reason I'm telling you need some preparation, prevention, so you can live in position, I want you to avoid the traps. The traps, listen, to avoid the distractions and know how to avoid the sins of yesterday from occupying your life today. Then he said this right here. This is good. He said, until you learn that, it's going to be impossible for you to walk into your destiny. Then he said, there's so many traps. There's so many snares that are being thrown your way every single day. And all Satan trying to do is get you to deviate off course just a little. Just a little. The passing question I had for you was this, church. Listen. So then how do I avoid these traps? That's what we closed at. How do I avoid these traps? Number one was this. Don't forget about God. Listen to me, church. Please hear my heart on this one. Hear my heart on this one. He said, listen, if you want to avoid the traps, he said, if you want to avoid the distractions, he said, if you want to avoid the sins of yesterday from occupying your life today, he said, don't forget about God. Did you get that? He said, listen, don't forget about God. We ain't going to go back there, but we looked at Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 11 and continue. Then we should have looked at, we didn't get a chance to, just write this down. Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 10, Colossians chapter 2, verse 6 through 10, and also Acts 17 and verse 28. You need to get a chance to look at those scriptures. Listen to me. He said, don't forget about God. He said, listen, seek him and keep him first in your life. He said, listen, if you want to avoid the traps, the distractions, and the sins of yesterday, he says, seek God and keep God first in your life. Why did he say that, church? Why did he say that? He said, listen, because it will affect how you hear, it will affect how you see, and then he said this, it will affect how you believe. Did you get that? Did you get that? He said, let me tell you something. He said, you need to seek and keep God first. I want you to write this down. Listen to me. This is real good. This is real good. He said, listen, everything in this world system, like listen to me? He said, listen, everything in this world system is designed, you need to write this down. Everything in this world system is designed to remove the very essence of the character of God from your life. Did you get that? Joke time is over. Joke time is over. He said, everything in this world system, and you're going to see this as we go further in information. I'm not going to hold you long today. Listen to me. He said, everything in this world system, he said, it is designed to remove the very essence of the character of God from your life. Most people in church don't even know anything about the character of God anyway. He said, everything in this world system, see, The houses you have, the money you have, the doctors, everything is, listen, he said it is designed to remove the very essence of the character of God from your life. I want you to stay with me on this for a second, because I don't want you to miss this one right here at all. Listen to me. Satan has set this thing in such a way, he said, let me tell you, his whole purpose is to remove the essence of the character of God from our lives. Number one is this, church. Number one is this. The first thing he's trying to move from your life is God's presence. You need to write that down. The first thing he's trying to move from your life is God's presence. The first thing he's trying to remove from your life is God's presence. So many of us don't even know about the presence of God at all. You never even experienced the presence of God. Let me tell you something. I do not get up here until I know that I'm in God's presence. I don't do it. I don't do it, man. I don't do it. When I pray for God's presence. I pray for his anointing, a triple portion of his anointing to rest upon me. Are you listening to me? Because if I don't do that, if I stand up, I'm just another person just speaking. Okay? I just become a speaker. I need the presence of God to operate in my life. Most people have no idea what I'm talking about right now about the presence of God. And it's why? Because Satan has designed that system to remove the very essence of the character of God from your life. The first character is his presence. And if you don't know God's presence, you're just going through the system, man. You're going through. It's easy for you to miss church. It's easy for you to fall asleep in church. It's easy for you to have a rebellious spirit because you don't know about the presence of God. You need the presence of God. Number two is this. It's the power of God. It's the power of God. The power of God. See, you understand? These are the characteristics of God that the enemy is now trying to remove from our lives. It is the character of God from our lives. Number one is his presence. Number two is the power of God. See, you really don't know about the power of God. If we did, we would not continue to do the same things we've been doing. See, what we're doing is we've been taught by the world system to rely on our abilities and not God's. Are you hearing me? Everything in this world system is to get you to rely on your abilities and not God's. See, it's to remove the character of God, man. I mean, and it's happening so subtly. That's the thing about it, and you're not even noticing. I'm not even finished. It's so subtle, and you don't even notice it. The first thing does take the presence of God. I'm going to tell you something, man. Without God's presence, man, you're going to miss it. You're just acting on your own. Then you don't have the power of God. Number three is this. Listen to it. Satan is trying to move the very essence of the character of God from our lives. Number one is his presence. Number two is his power. And number three is our reverence for God. Very few people have a reverence for God nowadays. You know, I've had people use profanity in my presence. Then when they find out I'm a pastor, they apologize. I'm thinking, oh, man, I'm just a pastor. They have more respect for my position than they do God. You know why? Because they don't really know God. People will watch certain things and they're doing your company until they find out you're supposed to be someone different. See, they don't think about God. Are you listening to me? Because they don't know about the presence of God. They don't know about the power of God. And they don't know about the reverence of God. They have no reverential fear of God. No reverential fear of God. And we see this all in our government every single day. And the sad thing about it is they don't mean no harm, man. They just don't know better. They just don't know better. Because of the world system. They don't know any better. See? Half the church don't know any better. The song said, I worship you just because of who you are. See? Most people worship God because they want to get something from God. They come to church trying to teach me how to get my blessing, man. Talk to me how I'm going to get some money. I got bills to pay. That sounds great, man, but it's not going to put any food on my table. See? This is how people are thinking. See? Am I going to be able to go through another day? Am I going to be able to live with this person and be happy? They're trying to figure, how can I make it? They don't want to hear nothing about no character of God, man. That don't sound like anything will put no money in my pocket at all. It's about the presence of God that you need. It's the power of God that you need. And number 3, we say it's the reverence for God. And number 4 is this. Listen. Once the power of God has been taken, once the presence of God has been taken, the power of God, and there's no reverence or fear of God, number 4 is this. It's to get us to believe that God understands. Did you hear me? It's to get us to believe that God understands. Let me show this to you real fast. See, listen. And that he approves of it. The reason that we can see the junk and garbage that's on TV that's on the day, and hear the junk and garbage that you hear on the radio today. The reason the government is doing what it's doing today is because they really think, let's say it, I'm going to show you how twisted their minds are. They really think that God approves. They really do. Anytime the church is going to come in and ordain people who are homosexuals to be pastors, to be leaders, to be priests, and they think that God is in agreement with this stuff. It's not a joke. I'm telling you, I'm serious. They think God is in agreement with this stuff. I mean, think about it. There's no reverential fear of God. There's no presence. They don't know God's presence. See, they're doing all this from their minds. Are you hearing me? Okay? And so there's no power of God being operated in this world system. Okay? And so what happens is, guess what? There's no reverence or fear of God. So what happens is it causes us to believe, well, nothing happened, no lightning bolts didn't come down, yet God is okay with this. God must say this is okay. To bring 2 people the same sex up here and marry them. And the preacher be gay too. And to marry them. I mean, it would be, it would really be funny because she's trying to laugh. My wife trying to laugh because she knows it's so sick. It would be funny if it wasn't so sad. It would be fun. But that's what we are. Our young people are growing up into a generation where they see this so it doesn't bother them. They feel comfortable sitting at the table having homosexual friends. It don't bother them. It doesn't bother them to the point, I think it should bother all of us to the point and say, I want to help this person, let them know they're off course. Not to hate them, or don't misunderstand that. That's another trick the enemy wants you to do. But to pray for them. Okay? But you think it's okay. You go into their houses and know they like this. It doesn't bother you. It doesn't bother you. See? It's okay to have multiple relationships outside of marriage. It's okay. Nothing has happened. God hasn't done anything. So we think God understands. And that God accepts this stuff. Go to Galatians real fast. Brother Marcel read that earlier, Galatians chapter 5. Or 6, wherever it was. He knows what it was. We get there. Galatians chapter 6, verse 7. It said, listen, be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh, of the flesh, listen, reap corruption. But we don't believe this stuff. We're just reading this. This is a fairy tale. Listen. But he that soweth to the Spirit, shall the Spirit reap life everlasting. Then it says something to keep us motivated. And let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season, listen, we shall reap if we faint not. Church, I told you, listen, failure is not an option. Listen to me. Listen. The enemy has worked this system so well. I'm going to share it with you in a second. Listen to me. He said, listen, everything in this world system is designed to remove the very essence of the character of God from our lives, which is number 1, his presence, number 2 is his power, number 3 is to remove reverence, and number 4 is to cause us to believe that God understands and that he approves it. But I got to move on quick for time's sake. This is why God said this. You must have some preparation to avoid life's traps. I want to go to a quick story with you. I want you to go to Judges real fast. Because see, sometimes we think we don't need the preparation. I want you to go to Judges. Sometimes we don't think we need the prevention. I want you to go to Judges. And sometimes we think that we can live outside of God's position. So make your way over to Judges. And when you get to Judges, I'm going to go to Judges chapter 16. Because I'm going to cut through the story real fast for time's sake. When you get to Judges chapter 16, I want you to start looking at verse 15. This story is about a story of Samson and Delilah. Samson and Delilah. See, it's a setup. And the enemy has set so many of us up to remove the presence, the power of God, and the reverential fear of God. And listen, and to now live in a position that's outside of God's will. When you read this story right here, we're going to just pick up with this part right here. I'm going to give you the backdrop. Samson loved strange women. It's amazing how something that goes against the nature of what your parents tell you sometimes. You know, your parents say, don't mess with that one, okay? But they don't listen to you. And then they get caught up with that particular one, and she causes all kind of chaos, or he causes all kind of chaos, okay? And listen, but for whatever reason, their soul get twisted up with that person. In this story right here, Samson loves Delilah so much. And Delilah really is a Philistine, and she's also not a very good person. And she's all about getting money, about getting paid. But Samson loves the way she does what she does. We'll leave it like that. He just loves the way she do what she do, okay? And it gets him to a point that he just can't leave her alone. You know, I told you this earlier about saturation. You remember that? When you get saturated, I mean, it's amazing how God puts things together. See, when you get saturated, the first thing you lose is your what? Come on now. First thing you lose is your what? Come on. Did y'all remember that? Your want to. That's the first thing you lose, is your want to. The second thing you lose is what? Your desire to. Thank you. The third thing you lose is what? Your power to. Y'all get saturated in work. Oh my God, horrible. You got to study it all and show yourself approved. Come on now. The third thing you lose is your power to. And the fourth thing is what? This is horrible. The fourth thing you lose what? You get up to do it. Why? Because you are consumed. And people wonder why I go over these notes. Why does it take so long doing these reviews over and over again? Because you don't get it. You got to hear it. Faith comes by hearing it. Hearing about it. We're not going to play this one for nobody. I'm saying this is embarrassing. But I'm going to tell you something. See, and this is what happened with Samson. See, he got so caught up that he lost his want to. He didn't want to leave it. He lost his desire to. See, then the next thing he lost is his power to. See, his power to release and to let go is number 4. To release and let go. Why? Because he was consumed. Go to the story. Judges chapter 16. Don't leave, guys. She don't even take notes. Listen. Listen. Number 15, verse 15 says this. And she said unto him, Delilah said to Samson, how can thou say, I love thee, when thy heart is not with me? She playing this guy. She playing him. She playing him. You got to read the rest of your own. Listen. Thou hast mocked me these 3 times, and hast not told me wherein thy great strength lieth. And it came to pass. Listen to me. This is the enemy. Remember I told y'all sometime last year. Satan is relentless. He won't stop, man. Once you give him a toehold, man, you know what I mean? He won't stop. Listen. Listen. And when she pressed him daily with her words and urged him, this woman had something going on. Listen what she did. So that his soul was vexed unto death. Verse 17. That he told her all his heart. Listen, he threw out preparation. He threw out prevention. He threw out living according to God's will and God's way. He told her all his heart and said unto her, there has not come a razor unto my head, for I have been a Nazarite unto God from my mother's womb. You know, I'm going to tell you something. People know your heart when you're really being when you're really sincere. They know your heart. They can sense it. That they're being honest with me this time. Look what he said here. Listen. He said, if I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall become weak and be like any other man. And when Delilah saw, oh man, I like this. No, I can't say that. And when Delilah saw that he had told her all his heart, she sent and called for the lords of the Philistines. Say, come up this once, for he hath showed me all his heart. They came up and listened, and they brought her the money. The first thing she wanted was the money. And she made him to sleep upon her knees. And God gives you a picture of how conniving Satan is. She had him to lay his head down on his wife. Just like that, go to sleep. I ain't got no locks of cut. But she went on and lay down. He went to sleep on his wife's knee. On wife knee, please. On the woman he was sleeping with me. Okay? He laid his head down on her knee. And listen what it says right here. And she called for a man. While this guy is resting, she has another man come in. And she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head. And then she began to afflict him. Wake up, little bug. I got the money now. I don't need you no more. Wake up. Wake up. She began to afflict him. Ooh, gotta afflict myself. Listen to me. And his strength went from him. And she said, listen. And she said, the Philistines be upon us, Samson. And he awoke out of his sleep. And he said, I will go out at other time. And I will shake myself. But then it says what? And he wist not that the Spirit of God was gone from him. Church, listen to me for a second. Get this down, please. Remember, it is God who gives us preparation. It is He that teaches us prevention. It is He that causes us to live in position by His Holy Spirit. Did you get that? When you play around with the devil and you don't know any better, I'm telling you, his whole system is designed to remove God's presence, His power, your reverence, and to believe that God understands. Samson didn't even know that God was out of there. He didn't even know, man. The guy got up and shook himself. As he did all the time, he was ready for battle. He didn't have no strength at all. The world system is designed to remove the very essence of the power of God from your life. Listen to me. I'm going to ask you 3 passing questions. I get out of here. Listen to me. I'm going to ask you 3 passing questions. And I want you to write these down. And I want you to think on these. Number 1 is this. Got to go quick for time's sake. Number 1 is this. Why do we often disdain, ignore preparation? Write that down. Why? I'm asking you a question. Why do we often disdain, ignore preparation? Why? Why, church? Why do we do it? Why do we often disdain? I mean, you don't think about it, you don't care, but you ignore it. Man, you don't have nothing to do with preparation. Why do we do that? Number 2 is this. Why do we reject prevention? Why do we reject? Do you understand prevention is protection? Why do we reject prevention? Number 3 is this. Why do we desire to live according to our decisions and not God's position? Why, church? Why? Why? Look at Samson. You just saw Samson, man. Samson, look at Samson. Samson had a disdain. He had ignored preparation. God spoke to his parents and told him what he should do and what he should not do, and he had a disdain for them. He rejected prevention, which is protection. He rejected it, man. Then listen to me now. And he had the desire to live according to his decisions and not God's position. Why do we do that, church? Why do we do that? Write this down. Answer number 1 is this. Here's your answer number 1. And I don't want you to miss this one at all. Answer number 1 is this. Because Satan has laid, he has planted, listen to me now, a trap. He has laid, he has planted a trap, a snare called, write this down, I know. Did you get that? Did you get that? I'm going to tell you something, man. I'm telling you, this is real. Listen to me. Why do we disdain preparation? Why do we we reject prevention. Why do we desire to live according to our decisions and not God's decisions? Because Satan has laid a snare. He has laid a trap. Listen, he has laid a trap and a snare called I know. I want you to stay with me for a second. Listen to me. The reason why we disdain preparation, we reject prevention, listen, we desire to live according to our decisions, is because Satan has laid that trap called I know. Are y'all familiar with that? Because I don't want to go too far. Y'all not familiar with that. Are you familiar with that trap called I know? Are you familiar with that trap? That's a trap. It's called I know. People say this all the time. Children, man, just coming out the womb. Man, I know. You go to a job, you start a job. I know. I never done work before. But I know. See? You try to tell you, get some wisdom. I know. Listen to me. This is a trap. This is a snare used by the enemy. Listen, people say it all the time. I know. Yeah. Okay, man, move on. Go on. Good, move on, man. I know all that. I know that. See, we all do this, church. We all say that. Because we get to that point, we're like, let's move on. Because I want to hear something that's going to tickle my flesh. I know all that. I know. I'm not finished. Listen to it. I don't know if they'll be honest or not, but I'll be honest. How many of us have missed it in life because we said, I know? I'll put my hand up. How many of us have missed it in life because we said, I know? Listen. That trap, that snare called I know. Listen to me for a second. You write this down. That trap, that snare called I know. Listen, it was created by design. Listen to me for a second. It was created by design. Listen, to get us comfortable in our decisions. Did you get that? It was created by design. The enemy, it's like he just took time and brushed this one himself. He said, I'll get him with this. See, he just brushed this one real well. He said, listen, it's to get you comfortable in your own decisions. Listen to me, man. This is good stuff. This will save your life. This will save your life if you yield to it. It'll save your life. That trap, that snare by design is to get us comfortable in our own decision. You know what hurts so much, Clinton? When you got children and you're trying to tell them something. Because you already been there. You already got the t-shirt. You know what I mean? You wrote the t-shirt. You know how it is. And they tell you, I know. We're right over here. You're right. I know. Listen to this right here. Listen. He said, it's to get you comfortable in your own decisions, even when that decision or decisions might not be in line with God's will and God's way. But it's to get you to say, I know. That's why God gave us that scripture. He said, listen, tell them, don't forget about God. Always tell them, don't forget about God. Tell them, don't forget about God. Let me move on quickly. I'm almost out of time. Listen to it. This is real good. Listen. Whenever we forget about God, we say that it affects what? Our hearing. It affects our seeing. And it affects, listen, what we start to believe, church. Every time you say, I want y'all to write this down. Every time you say, I know, listen to this real. Every time you say, I know, what we thought we knew, you need to write this down. What we thought we knew, it would lead us to a place called wow. Every time you say, I know, what we thought we knew, it will lead us to a place called wow. What happened? Been there? Wow. What happened? Then leads to the next place is called wow. How did I get here? The next place, I'm not finished. The next place it leads you to is wow. Where did I miss it? Did you get that? Did you get that? Just listen to it for a second. That phrase, I know, by design, is created to get you comfortable in your own decisions. So when you say that, it leads you to a place called wow. What happened? Wow. How did I get here? Wow. How did I miss it? I know. God said, listen, First things first, you must learn how to avoid those traps. Did you get that? Don't forget about God. Let me stop and close and say this to you, give you an example of how that trap works. Do you know 1 pack of Twinkies won't put 50 pounds on you in the same day? 1 pack of Twinkies won't put 50 pounds on you in the same day. But see, you thought you knew, and you never made the adjustment. Now look at you. Okay? Here's another example. Listen, first things first. 1 missed payment. It doesn't cause foreclosure. It doesn't even cause repo. But you thought you knew. And you never made the adjustment. Because you say, I know. 1 look at her with lust in your eyes and your heart. It doesn't cause a divorce today. But you thought you knew. And you never made the adjustment. Listen to me. You don't go from being a successful business person to barely being able to pay your bills. But you know what? You thought you knew. And you never made the adjustment. Man, I could go on and on and on. Whether it's dealing with smoking, drinking, drug, it doesn't matter. Satan has laid a trap, and that trap is called I know. Satan has this trap, and with this trap, he wants to destroy our lives. Church, I want you to get free from I know. Because the first thing what we're doing is when we say I know, we say I don't need to hear what you're saying. I already know. And what you've done is you've tuned out God. And the enemy by design is to get you to move from God's presence, to move from God's power, to get you to remove and start to lose your reverence for God, to lead you to a place where you start to believe that God accepts, that he approves of what you're doing. You know, I'm going to stop right here for a second, because God is speaking to my heart saying, you have a challenge with I know. And I'm going to stop right here. Yeah, I'm going to stop right here. Because I'm going to give you answer number 2, but I'm going to stop right here. But God said, when you get caught up with I know, this is the challenges that you have in your heart. Will you bow your heads and close your eyes? You can bow your head and close your eyes. I'm not going any further. Because if I go any further, I'm going to give you so much information, you're not going to be able to process it all. I only got a couple minutes left anyway. But right now what I'm going to do before I even talk to you, I want to talk to those who may be listening to by way of CD and online. You heard a very basic message today. And some of you right now, you might be saying, you already know what I'm going to say. You say, I'm going to ask you to do something. You're right. I'm going to say this to you. If you heard something in this message today that has impacted your life, I want you to repeat after me and say, Father, would you forgive me of my sins? Lord Jesus, would you cleanse me of my unrighteousness? God, I want to be a Christian. Make me more like you. Fill me full of your Holy Spirit. Baptize me in your Spirit. I receive Jesus as my Savior and my Lord. If you just repeat it after me, I want to take time to say thank you and walk through the body of Christ. Get back in contact with that person who gave you that CD. If you're listening to us online, email us back at loveredeemme.org. We'll be happy and not hilarious to tell you about your new walk with Christ. So until next time, we're praying for you. We love you. Remember one thing, you're blessed. But don't stop it here. Don't stop it here. Don't stop it here. Don't stop it here. You see, there's someone out there listening right now, and you're not taking heed. I'm telling you God's speaking to my heart. You're not taking heed to this message because you feel you know. You already feel that you know all this already. You feel I'm already okay with God. I've been around for a long time. I've been living my life the way I've been living it, and I've been having success according to the world system. And God is pouring himself out to you right now. He said, listen, because you're not going to make this could be your final call. It could be your final call. So if that's you, I want you to fall on your knees right now and ask God to forgive you and ask Jesus to come into your heart, to ask him to cleanse you up right now. Because this might be your last call. You might not ever get another chance to hear this again. This is out of the norm that I normally do, but God is speaking to my heart. He's telling you right now who are listening to me, you need to surrender your life to him today. In Jesus' name, amen. Yeah, you know I don't normally do